Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm here with Katya and Iryna, and we're talking today about emotional support. And I'll let them introduce themselves a little bit. So maybe we can start with Katya. If you can maybe share just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Lucia, thank you so much. When I reached out and asked you if we can share how Iryna specifically can provide emotional support, you were quick on it. You say, let's do it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Of
Everything
course.
helps right now, and you've been incredible. We've been friends for a while, so definitely incredible friend. And I'm Katya McEwen. A little bit about myself. I actually was born in Russia in Siberia. I grew up in Ukraine, in Zaporizhia. This is where I consider my home. This is where I'm immigrated from. I've been in North America for over 26 years, and I say in North America because I am Canadian by citizenship, but I've lived in the United States now for over 8 years. I work as a leadership coach, and I'm actually professionally certified mindset coach. And I do a lot of things to do with mindset and helping people to go through challenging situations. And right now, I'm personally experiencing one of the most challenging situations in my life because my brother, my nephew, my brother family, also my extended family, all are right now in Ukraine and Zaporizhia. And you can only imagine what's going on. So I would love to talk about perspective, share the perspective of how it's affecting everyone, how is it affecting everyone who has family in there, and what can you do and how can you help your relatives and also families who have relatives back in Ukraine and how you can help them through emotional support. And this is why I'm so happy that Iryna is here, and I'm going to let her introduce herself so you know who she is.
Yes, Iryna, please.
Hi. Well, first of all, thank you, Lucia and Katya, for inviting me over to the stream. I'm very, very grateful that I have an opportunity to share and hopefully reach more people to help any way I can. My name is Iryna Yeromenko, and I have lived in the US for the last 8 years. And I came to the States in 2014 after Russia attacked and occupied my hometown of Donetsk. That's where I'm originally from, and that's where I grew up. I was personally targeted, and we had to flee the city. And unfortunately, I know from my personal experience that what war is and what it feels like. And I also know that while the first point is getting to physical safety, the effect of war trauma are really long term, and it comes with a myriad of feelings from disbelief to guilt for surviving and getting to certain degree of normality. And it's important to work through them so that they don't turn into chronic conditions. And I hope that we'll be able to talk about it a little bit further.
Yeah, yes, I think we should talk about that because certainly it's a different perspective. Before that, Katya, can you share a little bit like now you mentioned your brother, but what is the situation now and how is your family there? Who do you have there and how that affected you and how you found Iryna?
Yeah, absolutely. So my brother lives in Zaporizhia. So the best way to explain, and I know it's interesting that now people have more understanding of Ukrainian geography, but if you think about it, it's the eastern part of Ukraine. It's the Russian-speaking part of Ukraine. As I mentioned, I was born in Russia. I'm a Russian-speaking. I never been persecuted because I spoke Russian in Ukrainian. Just to talk about a couple of myths there. And he lives in Zaporizhia. So when you heard, I think it was the first week of the war, and I'm kind of losing track of time here. When you heard about the nuclear power plant, when there was a scare, the little bit of fires there, and so on and so forth, he lives about 40 kilometers away. So that nuclear power plant, actually, the name of it is Zaporizhia Nuclear Power Plant, which is an outskirts kind of suburban area of my city where I grew up since I was 7 years old. So I moved to Ukraine, to Zaporizhia, when I was 7 years old. They are all alive. I cannot say that they are safe. Unfortunately, nobody is safe in Ukraine, no matter where they are. There is a safer parts of Ukraine. So he lives in a safer part so far. Where he lives right now, they actually evacuate all of the people they can from cities like Mariupol, who's been one of the worst attacked cities in Ukraine, and also like a small towns as well, like Vasilivka as well, which was affected a lot, among other many towns and cities, of course. So he lives in a high-rise apartment building on the 8th floor. They fortunate enough that they have electricity, they have water, they have food. Some of the stores are still open. You can still go and buy food and everything else. If you hear about bomb shelters, there is no such thing really as a bomb shelter, maybe in some major cities, and they use like subway stations, metro stations, like in Kyiv or Kharkiv, like a larger cities. However, in Zaporizhia, even so it's over a million people in that city, we never had the subway. So where they try to hide is basements of the high-rise buildings, which are not designed for what it is, for the bomb shelters. And the reason they are very dangerous, because normally it's just one way in and there is no air ventilation or anything like that. So my brother actually decided that they made a decision very early. They are not going to be hiding in those places because it's actually, it's not safe in case if the rocket will hit the building, nobody will come to, or even if people can't get there, it will be too late. They will be buried alive. So that is the situation for many citizens of Ukraine right now. So they made a decision they will stay in apartment. Between apartments, they have like a little hallway, like it's always like between two apartments. So they have two big walls in between if there is any kind of attack. So the fear is, of course, it's still not safe, because if the rocket hits right in where they are, or even very close, then they will not survive. So that's their situation right now. So is situation of many of my relatives who live in Zaporizhia. Some of them, I have one family who lives in a smaller, like, just one floor house. Other than that, everyone pretty much lives in those high-rise buildings that you're watching on the news. They're in a very good spirits. I talk to him pretty much every day. How my life changed since everything started. I hate war. It's something that I never experienced before. But the reason that anger and hate coming up is because my day starts with making sure that my family is okay. I would go and check, okay, everyone is okay. And my day finishes like that as well because of the time difference. Before I go to bed, I want to make sure, because they will just wake up before I go to bed. I will just find out if everything was okay during the night. So in the first few days of the war, I went through what I consider very similar stages of grief. So with the grief, you're going through denial first, then you go through extreme anger, right? So how dare this happening to me? And then you go into acceptance, right? So I'm kind of in between right now of anger and acceptance. I'm no longer in denial. And the first few days, I was hysterical. And with all the tools that I have as a mindset coach, I used all of them and more. With the communities that support me, and somebody like Iryna, and I have many more people who supported me. I'm very fortunate. It still was way too much of everything that was coming on for me. At that time, I also had two of my best friends who were still in Zaporizhia, and we were trying to figure out how to help them to escape as well. Now, my brother, because I know that people probably would ask why my brother cannot leave. Well, he cannot leave because any man between 18 and 60 cannot leave. So is my nephew, so is his stepson, right? So they just can't leave. They would not allow them even to leave from the city. They would not allow them to leave, like even if they wanted to, they would not allow them to leave. So at the beginning, I was kind of in between figuring out how can I the best help my brother with his emotions as well, but also how can I help my friends who possibly can escape, and they did. Both of my friends who was there, they actually, one of them is right now in London with her daughter, and another one is in Poland, and she escaped together with her 28-year-old daughter as well from Zaporizhia. So they are safer in Poland right now. Again, in the first few days, how it's affected me, it's to the point that I had extreme anxiety even to check my messages. So, and the way it looks like, and I especially am walking you through because you might be experiencing it right now, or you might not understand what your family, or maybe even your employees, if they've been affected, by the way, if you're watching, or your colleagues are experiencing. So in a few days, it was to the point where anxiety was so strong that I was afraid to look at the message and afraid not to look at the message. So it was, my hands were shaking. At one point, my husband just looked at me and he said, "You need to put the phone down." And I broke down in hysterics and I said, "What if it's the last time I talk to them?" And right now, with Iryna's help and other help, I can talk about that like normal as I can be. And it's not affecting me as much emotionally because I learn how to detach from some of my emotions. But I'm also true believer that you need to process your emotions and don't numb them because it can affect you in the future. And that's why it's so incredibly important to find somebody like Iryna and other practitioners and therapy and all of that stuff who can help you to detach from those emotions, but also to process them and release them as well. So how I found Iryna. Because I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, I have my own practice of the clients as mindset coach. I am very familiar with the method that Iryna is practicing, and I'm familiar at a different level. It helped me with my business. I was seeking for that, and it helped me with my business. So I knew that it's a very effective and a very quick method. And when I say very quick, I don't mean like immediate. Sometimes it might take 21 days or more, but you will feel immediate relief to some extent as well. And then you will see permanent changes. So I actually, I was part of the community of Marisa Peer, RTT, which is Rapid Transformational Therapy Community. And I made a post and I said, and I made posts in several communities where I know those practitioners exist. And I literally made a post, I'm looking for somebody, for RTT practitioner who speaks Russian or Ukrainian. I need some help. And Iryna responded and we connected, and the rest is a history. And she's been helping me. And what she, even with our first call and first meeting, and we haven't really had true RTT session yet, it's coming this week because I was traveling end of last week. But even from talking to her and listening her perspective of what she went through and sharing her experiences with me helped me a lot to process some of my emotions and fears. So, and I really would love Iryna to tell a little bit more about that because it's an incredible thing that she's doing. And I would love everyone to share it so everyone can experience it and learn how to detach little by little so you can function. Because at some point I couldn't even function at work. I would like, it's really, you need to learn how to function. The situation is not going to go away, perhaps. We don't know how long, but you will learn how to cope and function and how to help yourself so you can function better. Therefore, you can help them better. You can help your family better.
Thank you for sharing your story, Katya. Yeah. Iryna, before we go into that, can you also share, you're from Donetsk,
Mhm.
and 2014, you experienced it firsthand, right?
That is
Um,
correct.
you were there. Can you share a little bit about that? And um, did that let you to start helping people, or you were doing it before that? And probably you're understanding, of course, more people right now what they're going through, and that helps you a lot in what you're doing. But if you can just share a little bit the backstory.
Sure, sure. So in 2014, I was pretty much where most of Ukrainians are at this point, just like many other folks from Donbas region. In what I call my previous life, I was not involved in psychology per se. I was in education and education management. I owned, managed, and ran one of the largest foreign language schools in um, Eastern Ukraine, and I did work with a lot of folks. So when we got to the United States and when we got to more or less stable situation, I actually decided that I wanted to go into healthcare, and fate had it that I started working in mental health. And for the last 6 years, I worked in mental health, and I have seen things that work, things that don't work. And I came across rapid transformational therapy, um, tried it out as a client, and I was literally shocked with the results that were the outcomes of one single session. I used it repeatedly as a client for issues that are psychological and also for physical health, and I was just wowed. And from there on, I decided that I wanted to study and I wanted to help people and set them free. And now looking back, I actually cannot be more grateful to be able to help people who are going through something similar that I had to go through. And I'm grateful that having lived through a similar experience, I can share the perspective. I can really understand the depths of the emotions and feelings and the overwhelm and anxiety, and actually have the tools to be able to help people. So for me, I just consider that this is, a blessing. And that's why I decided, not even decided, I just knew that this is the tool that I have to share with as many people as possible and use it to help um, Ukrainians and those who have families in Ukraine. The reality is that the psychological toll that it takes on people is tremendous. PTSD, various degrees of trauma, and the impact on individuals depends not only on the actual experience that they have lived and the proximity of the war zone, seeing death and all the horrors, but the imprint of all these things that people have, and the imprint can actually be quite different for you or me, and it depends on a variety of factors. And a lot of people who escape to safety or who have families in Ukraine and watch from afar and are trying to have huge, just overwhelming sense of helplessness, guilt, and anxiety. And, I talk to Katya, and the things that I hear, it's like, I want to do something, I want to help, I don't know how. And I've heard people who left Ukraine, women with children, talking about, well, I feel like I'm a betrayer. And this is something that needs to be worked through. I try to help people understand that if they have a gift of life, they have to appreciate it. And I help them kind of get back on track on appreciating and valuing every day of their life, because it's truly a gift of their life, their families, their children. When you're in this sense of overwhelm, you actually, whether you have experienced it yourself or not, you get to a point where you're unable to focus on daily activities, even things that are vital for survival and physical health. Like you can't eat, you forget to eat, you're not hungry, you forget to drink water, you don't walk, you don't exercise, and it has tremendous negative impact both on your mental health and your physical health. Majority of thoughts in situations like that, conversations, actions, are connected to the war, the personal experiences of the families and friends that are going through this. And it really is overwhelming. If you take 24 hours a day, you're lucky if you're able to sleep, and outside of that, at least 90% of the time, you're actively thinking about that. So why is it so important to take care of yourself? Again, whether you have experienced it yourself or you're watching from afar and you know someone you have there or you have family there. The one important thing that I would like to say is, unfortunately, this is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It requires a lot of strength, a lot of resilience, and a lot of endurance. And the immediate shock um, gives you a myriad of feelings, but what's going to happen afterwards is also very important. And the effects and impact of this continued tragedy are very serious and long lasting. The thoughts that we think greatly impact our action and behaviors, and they impact our everyday lives, changing our beliefs, which in turn impact our thoughts and feelings, and it becomes a vicious circle. And what is important is to be able to find a way to break this vicious circle, to get to a place of emotional stability as much as we can. And as Katya mentioned, to let your feelings out, to live through them, it's very, very, very important. Break this cycle of constant worry and anxiety. And it is critical both for short and long-term impact. And if I may, I would like to talk about the actual method that I use, rapid transformational therapy. So as I mentioned, I am certified in rapid transformational therapy, and it is an award-winning modality that combines some of the best tools of hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, and practical neuroscience. So let me try and explain it in a simple way. All of us have conscious and subconscious mind. Conscious mind deals with what we can focus our attention on. So things we do, the project we're working on, our job, conversation that we're having right now, what you're listening to, or maybe something that you're going to have for dinner today. Our subconscious mind is what operates our existence 95% of the time, and things that work even when we do not think about it, like breathing or heartbeat. You don't focus your attention on how you breathe or how your heart is beating, but it still works around the clock, even when you're sleeping. So now imagine that our subconscious mind is kind of like a security camera that records everything that we see 24/7, everything we see, hear, feel, experience around the clock, nonstop. And it stores all of it in a giant library. Without us realizing it, we actually create and follow patterns that are informed by our previous experiences, and our subconscious mind impacts what we do, our actions, even if we don't realize it. If you think about the security camera and review, let's say, a video from it, you will notice that the first time you watch it, you will see one thing. The next time you watch it, you might notice something else. And no matter how many times you watch, you will be able to see more and more things, which means that our subconscious mind has a lot more information than we can actually process and pull out at one single time. So rapid transformational therapy, that was created by Marisa Peer, who was recognized as the best therapist in Britain, as Katya mentioned, allows the therapist to be the guide to your subconscious mind and have a really, really deep dive into the root and the cause of the issue, of the belief or emotional or physical problem that you might have. So if you imagine a sliding door, and this sliding door is your conscious mind. with the help of hypnosis, we are able to slide this door open and access this giant library of your subconscious mind, all the recordings for, all the years that you have lived that have been stored in this library. And then apply the most effective tools of psychotherapy to produce fast and long-lasting outcomes. This approach, it's called rapid transformational therapy, is number one, it's really transformative. And I've experienced it as a client, and I've experienced it with many clients that I've already helped. It's rapid because it really brings results in just 1 to 3 sessions. And it is extremely, extremely powerful. To make it easier to understand, RTT, or rapid transformational therapy approach, is a concerted effort of a therapist and a client that has 3 parts. Part number 1 is we both work as detectives, looking for and finding the root and the cause of the issue. Then we work kind of as dentists, extracting the beliefs that are deeply rooted and don't serve us anymore, and are only causing pain and negatively impacting multiple areas of our lives. Or you can also think about your life as a garden, and you're the gardener who is weeding out the weeds. And then finally, when we have done that, we're like computer coders, and we hardwire and install new beliefs that benefit us. The beliefs that we install are actually based on the ideas, wishes, and desires of the client themselves, not something that I come up with. And because of that, such work has both powerful effect and is easily accepted by our mind, our subconscious mind, because these are the true desires that we have, and they're welcomed by our subconscious mind.
And have you had a lot of people reaching out to you? That sounds, like Katya mentioned, that extremely helpful, and I'm certainly familiar with the work of Ms. Pierre. Have you had a lot of people reaching out? And also, when do you suggest, is it ever too early or too late? Well, probably, the war started not long ago, but is it too early for some of them to reach out, or it's never too early to work on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start with the first part. So I launched the project about 2 weeks ago. I needed some time to organize so that I'm able to inform people of what I offer. And I have had a number of people participate in group therapy that I offer. So I actually offer 3 distinct services. The first one is a group therapy session for emotional release. And it's an online session, just as all the other services that I offer. And I got a lot of interest from people. I have only had about 10 people participate so far, because a lot of the folks are literally trying to get to a place where they can be in physical safety and have internet connection stable enough to be able to access the service. Over the last week, I have received a lot of interest from those who, as they say, are ready to start thinking about anything more than just surviving. So I'm hoping more and more people will be able to access that service. For the individual services that I provide, which is deep work, similar to what I'm working on with Katya, I have worked on an average with 2 to 3 people a day. So I have my day job, and then I start working with the folks after that, and have additional 5 to 6 hours a day of work. So overall, in the last 2 weeks, we're looking at about 25 folks, but the numbers are growing and there is a lot of interest. So I'm hoping that it's going to be, I will be able to reach a large number of people. I offer services in Russian. I can offer them in Ukrainian, but I haven't used it much for the last 8 years, so it's more convenient for me to do it in Russian. But if the request is only Ukrainian, I can grant that as well. So at this point, I'm ready to take in, I think, additional new 5 to 7 clients a week for individual work, and as many people as are interested for the group sessions. And then the second part of the question, when is it too early and when is it too late? Or if there is a time that is too early. Definitely, number one thing is getting to physical safety. The method that I use requires a couple of hours of calm and not being disturbed. So I had a few folks ask me if that's, they can access the service in one of the cities in Ukraine where they have sirens going on, and this is not a good place to do that. But otherwise, again, using a number of various tools and methods, as long as you're in physical safety, it's not too early.
Great. That's great to know. And I'll share the podcast and the show and the link to your website. So if anyone needs, they can reach out to you. And in closing, if you, Katya, want to share something, or Iryna, yes.
Can I just add something?
Yes.
I forgot to mention that all of the services that I provide for all of Ukrainian people, wherever they are in the world, are free of charge. So I don't charge anything. That's number one. If you are not in Ukraine and you're settled anywhere in the world for a number of years and you would like to make a donation, all the proceeds will go to support refugees and Ukrainians who are currently in Ukraine. And when you go to my website, it's very easy to find the services that I'm talking about. There is a little heart with Ukrainian flag. Just click on it and it will guide you to what you're looking for.
Great. That's very good to know. Okay. Yes, I'm sure. I spoke to a lot of people in the Netherlands, and I know some people there, maybe as a group, they can use your help, but I'll share definitely the information you just shared. Katya, if you want to share something before we close.
Yeah. And to answer your question, when is it early or not? I understand the importance of feelings and emotions and how it's affecting everyday today lives. I would say the earliest possible. And then even like to do this through the group session, what Iryna is helping, or one-on-one, whatever way you decide to do, and try to get that support. But also I wanted to bring something else to attention we didn't discuss yet, is something that called epigenetics. And if you're not familiar with the term, you can look it up on Google. And what it means that it's not only going to affect you right now, it's affecting future generations as well. So by helping yourself right now, by removing a lot of that fear, anxiety, overwhelm, and everything else that comes with the situation, you're not only helping yourself to survive, and I mean survive and thrive, but also you're helping your future generations, because epigenetics is something that's been studied now for a while. And it does show that if we don't address what's happening with us, specifically traumas, when we deal with traumas, the future generations will be affected, even so they never experienced it on a level, but your future generations could be definitely affected. And that's been proven already scientifically. So the earlier you can get help, the better. If you have any questions, if you want to ask about, if you maybe not comfortable right away, maybe you have some kind of stereotype about therapy or anything like that. If you have any questions, please send me a message through Messenger on Facebook. You're free to contact me. I can give you my phone number as well. It's on my website. It's no secret. But if you want just to ask questions, not quite sure if those services for you, I'm here to help and answer any of the questions. If you want to talk about anything that what's happening in Ukraine and you need just moral support on top of it, I'm here as well. I've been talking to a lot of people. I'm also connecting them with Iryna if they did not know about her services. So definitely have other support that I can help you with as well. And most importantly, this is a time where we all as a humanity can come together and help each other. And this is what I'm seeing over and over again, how everyone really stepping up and helping each other. And I think it's a beautiful thing to see. And that's probably the only one beautiful thing that I can say about the whole situation. Yes, so there is a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and let's focus on the beautiful thing of how we can help each other.
Yes, thank you. That's excellent. And yes, I've heard about epigenetics. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. And actually, yes, from psychotherapist, and it's a real thing. So the early we deal with that trauma, the better. I mean, not the early, but to deal with the trauma. So thank you so much for being here. And thanks for everyone watching. We'll see you next time. And I hope this ends really, really soon.
Yes, me
Thank
too.
you. Thank you very
Thank you
much
so
for
much.
having us.